Hey guys, so this is first part of Mission 4, Dishonored 2. Um, I just spent an hour and 44 minutes playing the first part of this mission, only to find that OBS did not record any of it. It recorded an hour and 44 minutes of blackness. So I'm going to do it again. So if I seem a bit fatigued, that's why. Okay, this is going to be a longer one. Going to be at least 3 parts. I don't know if it'll be 4. We'll see. Um, but all right, let's get started again. At least I got some good practice. Yeah, there it is. Amazing. All right, Dreadful Whale. Talk to Megan Foster about the best way to reach the home of Kieran Josh, Grand Inventor to the Duke of Serkonos.
In his day, Sokolov was Dunwall's genius. He transformed our city with his inventions. Electricity for the factories and carriages racing along above the streets. As I grew up, his buzzing and glowing devices kept me safe. His stories always made me giggle, and his outrageous conversations shocked aristocrats and overseers alike. Now, all these years later, Kieran Jindosh is Karnaka's genius. A mad inventor who has given the Duke sinister machines that move like people but aren't. Clockwork soldiers that fight and kill. Got to find out where Sokolov's being held and bring the old man back alive. Rescue one genius and cage the other before he creates an army of clockwork soldiers.
Okay. So see here in our little trophy case, we see the helmet of the elite guard from Mission 2. So I just sleep darted one of them. I didn't knock them out or choke them out, so I wasn't sure if that would be sufficient. But it looks like it is, so we got that. And then from Mission 3, the souvenir is the syringe that we use to cure Hypatia. Note from Megan Foster. Dr. Hypatia needed a place to sleep, so I cleared the stuff out of the spare cabin. I was able to sell most of it. Here's what's left of the money. It's not a lot, I know. Whale oil is expensive and under Imperial rationing decree, but you know that. Megan Foster. Travel log. Clockwork Mansion. The Crown Killer is no more. Next to Jinjosh. I finally uncovered how my enemies created the Crown Killer. What better way to erode confidence in me before the coup? If I had stopped to think about it for even a few minutes, maybe I could have kept my people's trust. But that would have required patience, and my advisors always remind me that I have none of that particular trait. But to use Hypatia's own serum against her, horrible. I'm happy I could find a cure. She's a brilliant alchemist. Now she can continue her research to help the people of Serkonos. I wasn't able to rescue Sokolov. He's been taken elsewhere, to Kieran Jindosh's mansion. He's the inventor of the Clockwork Soldier, and if he's able to use Sokolov's genius for his own plans, it might be very, very bad. I've seen his killing machines in action at Dunwall Tower. I can't allow Delilah to have such an ally. I'm sure Jindosh takes pleasure in keeping his intellectual rival captive. Well, it won't be for long if I have any say in it. The Dreadful Whale, what a weird name. It's hard to sleep on this ship, and when I do, my dreams are troubled. Well, I'm awake now and thinking about Sokolov. I remember him at the Hound Pit's pub so long ago, trapped like a beast in a cage. He smelled of stale piss and rotting meat, but they couldn't break him. He held on to himself and picked up again as my tutor, something I needed in the aftermath of my mother's death. Beware of dignitaries bearing gifts, he used to tell me, but I was still a child, and I liked gifts. I thought nothing sounded more pleasant. Now I know better. I also find myself thinking of Callista, my old governess. She always wanted to travel the world on a big boat. Eventually she left Dunwall, then stopped writing a few months later.
Is it truly possible the good doctor didn't know she was the crown killer? Maybe she just didn't want to. You might want to talk to Hypatia before we head out. She's taken one of the rooms. Just for a while, I think. Needed to be away from Adamire. Dr. Hypatia seems better than when she first showed up. Is it truly possible the good doctor didn't know she was the crown killer? Maybe she just didn't want to. That woman worked so hard during the old Duke's reign. For the poorest people in the city. It's good you found a way to keep from cutting Hypatia's throat, despite the situation. And surprising, really.
Maintenance list. Drain engine room. Another week, another leak. I wasted hours on it and couldn't get it stopped. I'll shut the water off, assuming I can find the crank wheel. Something to deal with once Sokolov is safe. Check bridge tubing. Done. Haul down oil. Done. Buy onions. Done.
Nerve of the Grand Guard. Trying to keep me from leaving.
Dr. Hypatia, can you remember anything that might help me? I need to find Anton Sokolov. He could be the key to unraveling the Duke's plans.
My memories are disjointed. The Duke is close to his grand inventor, Kirin Jindosh. But that man has the empathy of a mantis. He seems to both admire and despise Sokolov. We visited Aramis Stilton. I liked him. But something bad happened. Just snatches of memory. Sorry.
You should rest easy for a while. Maybe some of that will help.
I hope so. I'm not sure I even fully understand what you did for me. But I owe you for helping me at Adamire. Thank you. My dreams are still filled with visions. Some of which I'd sooner forget. When I first got here, I was in a daze. But I'm feeling better. I'm not sure how long I'll stay here, but I appreciate being away from Adamire. A few days' recovery has helped. It might be the salty air or the rocking of the boat. Maybe just being around good people again. Maybe someday, Karnaca will return to the way it was under the old Duke, Theodanis. You be careful. Unless someone can correct all this, the next decade or more might be gloomy indeed.
Dr. Hypatia's notes. On a boat, with friends, I believe. I slept. Thankfully, without the usual nightmares. Perhaps the sea air does me good. The captain, Megan Foster, brought me some tea earlier. Such an interesting woman. She seemed to understand about my strange, disjointed memories and the feelings of dread that accompany them. As soon as I am able, I must return to Adamire. So much of the last few months seems a blur. What was I accomplishing? What of my research into serums for the Black Spittle? My work was so easily derailed, I can only conclude I was suffering from a complete exhaustive breakdown. I will need time to recover.
Megan must be up on deck. Ramsey and the Crown Killer. 2 pieces of the puzzle. More to go. So, the Crown Killer was a tool of the Duke's coup. The murders had a calculated effect. Hypatia did terrible things under the influence of her formula, but she's free now. We'll find you, Anton. I wonder how recently this silvergraph image of Jindosh was made. To reach Jindosh, I'll have to take the carriage through Lower, then Upper Aventa. With a couple dozen Clockwork soldiers, Jindosh changed the Empire. What would he do with an army?
Clockwork Soldier Basics. To all personnel, after last week's disaster, Grand Inventor Kiran Jindosh circulated the following information related to his Clockwork Soldiers. All Grand Guard personnel should read this report. The Clockwork Soldier is protected by armored wooden plates. If some miscreant destroys these, then there's nothing protecting the vulnerable mechanisms underneath. If something knocks off the Clockwork's head, the thing will attack anyone it can, ally or not. This means you. Given the expensive optics Mr. Jindosh has provided each Clockwork with, they can see in the front and in the back. Remember that if another one of them goes haywire. If some fool is able to get close enough, there's a small panel on each Clockwork that can be rewired, which will invert their perception of friend and foe. Again, that means you get attacked. Keep these things in mind, and the Clockworks will be an asset and not a liability. 3rd Lieutenant Fiora Diaz, Lower City Technical Office, Grand Circonan Guard. I read this in the last one.
That wasn't here before. Botany and diseases.
Alright, we now have all 4 volumes of Sokolov's memoir. Which we can read now. Okay. And I'm just going to replay what I originally recorded.
A colleague of mine owns a stunning map of the known world. Adorned with curlicues and sea beasts, it has a cherished spot over her mantle. She paid handsomely for it, and was so bristled when I enumerated the various errors. Chief among them, of course, the size and placement of the Pandician continent. Oh, our cartographers are loath to show how small and distant our empire really is compared to that giant landmass, as if Pandicia were but a few days' journey from Aran. Every veteran ship captain knows that it takes months to reach those shores. I had no doubt that Pandicia was rich in resources, but a place must be understood if we ever hope to exploit its myriad treasures. These were my thoughts as I agreed to join the ill-fated expedition, and so it was on the 3rd day of the month of Earth, under calm grey skies, the great sea vessel Antonia Aquilo set sail with captain, crew, researchers, and myself, 38 of us total, for what would be the most terrifying and spiritually draining experience of my life. We were only miles from the shore, but our approach was marred by numerous hidden reefs and jagged rocks. They lay shallow, and we spied 2 vessels that had succumbed to them some time ago. The remaining crew was uncharacteristically silent as we edged by the weathered wrecks. The first mate declared a particularly narrow channel to be unpassable, but the captain dispatched 10 crewmen onto the submerged coral with sledgehammers. Thereafter, each chest-deep in water, they pulled the Antonia Aquilo into the tiny channel with ropes. It provided a marvelous solution. However, just as we were about to lower the rope ladders, tragedy struck, as the men were beset by a school of reef-dwelling eels. Apparently, their toxic bites were quite painful. From the railing, we could see them swarming men who had begged us for aid before succumbing to the paralytic effects of the toxin. Within moments, all were still in the water. We continue on, In silence, and by sunset we had cleared the bars and put anchor in a bay, with a red rock beach and emerald overgrowth beyond. I confess, I was near giddy to put my feet on land again. The smell of ripening fruits and warm earth was so pleasing to me as a cherished vintage. We gathered wood and made fires, and indulged in some tinned meat and lemons from our stores. How good it was to slumber on the beach with a cackle of embers nearby, having finally escaped the cramped and damp quarters of our vessel. We took turns with a watch and passed a quiet night. At last we stood on Pandician soil. At dawn, I set out with the group that had foraged east and included 2 other natural philosophers and 4 crewmen. We used blades to clear the vegetation that grew thickly here, and slowly made our way away from the shore up a steep incline. Our purpose was to gather samples of the native plants for our research journals. I found myself pressing leaves and stems between pages and taking copious notes on several species of flora I surmised no human had ever set eyes on previously, when suddenly young Mr. Gravitt from the academy began hopping about and screaming wildly. Chance had made him pick an unfortunate place to step. Aggressive ant-like creatures swarmed him from below. So many in number were his tiny attackers that we quickly lost sight of him under their onslaught. We finally managed to pull Gravitt from the insects, acquiring several painful welts where we had come to his aid. Mr. Gravitt, however, was bitten, or stung, as I would eventually discover, so many times that he was barely recognizable. Swollen unto deformity over every inch of his person, moaning like a sick bull, he expired before we could carry him back to the beach. Luckily, some of the creatures still clung to him, providing me with precious samples. 2 dead on our first day on the continent, but the New World was not sated and would have 1 more, none other than the captain himself. His group had found a cluster of small rodents, much like rabbits or prairie moles. The lure of fresh meat proved too much a temptation for our good captain, who had dined on scant fish and the same rations as the crew all these dreary months. He was able to grab one of the creatures with his bare hands, but the docile beasts were not so tame after all. Having allowed the captain to pick it up, the creature had become enraged and delivered several stings from a gland hidden in its tail. The captain complained of heat and itching where the stings had penetrated, but insisted they press on. He died of asphyxiation within a quarter hour. It was suddenly obvious to me that at this rate of attrition we would not only fail to sufficiently research the continent, but we might soon lack enough crew to make the return voyage. Something had to be done to save the venture. So I immediately declared myself captain. On my orders, the remaining crew kept to the relative safety of the beach for the duration of the week. Though I sent 2 young academy students armed with nets and cages to fetch a live sample of the prairie mole that had so swiftly killed the captain, as first and foremost, ours was a research expedition.
Okay, sorry you had to suffer through that. Alright, here's the crank wheel. There's one here and there's one up on the bridge. Either one will work. Go down to the engine room and stop the leak. Already read that.
It's as if she's emerged from a long, black dream. The spirit has been unburdened, and she's gaining strength each day. There's a sense within her of what she's done, but only impressions. Hypatia's mood improves. She looks forward to seeing patients again. Already, she's thinking about an old patient suffering from boanthropy. She wants to know how the woman is progressing. Hypatia studied at the Academy of Natural Philosophy under Pierre Joplin and Anton Sokolov. The man brought his dying son by boat, braving the rocks. She watched, helpless, as the soldiers drove him away. She cares for the patients, treats them with compassion, often refuses their money. For years, she studied in Dunwall before returning to the south. She has a special interest in the lung and eye conditions prevalent in the Dust District. I told you all there is to know about this woman.
Let me pause here just to make sure it's still recording. All right. Looks like it is. Okay. Don't want that to happen a second time. Megan Foster's notebook. I'm starting to understand why Anton wanted to go to Dunwall to seek Emily's help. She's impressive. I have to wonder if she's really suited for palace life. Maybe she wonders that herself sometimes. We could have been good friends at a time when I was running across the rooftops like she is now, watching my enemies from the shadows. I just hope she's breathing tomorrow morning so I can complain when she puts her dusty boots up on the table again. I've lost so many friends. First my sweet Deirdre, others along the way, good old Aramis Tilton, who disappeared 3 years ago, and now Anton. Maybe this is my punishment and bad luck. Please, Emily, bring him back. One lousy sock. Here's the other crank wheel.
Let's hope your friend doesn't sink the boat while we're gone. Ready? All right, let's get underway.
Anton Sokolov is being held at the mansion of Kieran Jindosh, Grand Adventure to the Duke and creator of the Clockwork Soldier. Get inside, rescue Sokolov, and eliminate Jindosh before he builds an army of Clockwork Soldiers.
Jindosh is important to the Duke's inner circle. The Grand Guard watches his mansion, and they'll call down the entire city if they find out who you are.
I'll make sure they don't. You said there's a wall of light cutting off access to the carriage station?
Yes, but there's a black market shop nearby. They sell on the sly. Ever use a rewiring tool?
Corvo taught me the theory.
Good. Get past the wall of light, then ride the carriage to where Jindosh lives. And there's a reason people are afraid of his mansion.
I'll get it done.
Emily, take care of this crazy man and his Clockwork Soldiers, then bring Sokolov back. He means a lot to me. His home is supposed to be full of marvels. Locals go in as a test of courage or because they're desperate for a meal. Kids, even. People say you can hear them at night, pounding on the windows, calling for help. The carriage will take you fairly close to the mansion. The Duke looks after people like Jindosh. When you're done, meet me back here. If you can't find a rewiring tool, and you manage to get to the other side of the wall of light, there should be a power source somewhere. A whale oil tank or windmill. Turning it off works just as good, and nobody gets burned to ashes. Careful with the wall of light. I once saw a kid dare his little brother to touch one of those things. A second later, nothing left but dust. The Duke's circle is full of clever bastards, all working for a percentage. But no one is like Jindosh. Not since Sokolov. Jindosh entered as Clockwork soldiers in the Duke's tournament, the Blade Verbana. No one can beat them. Corvo won that when he was 16, didn't he? But he never faced anything like the Clockworks. Jindosh won't care who you are or what you want. To him, it's all a puzzle to work out. He looks at you like he wants to take you apart.
This is the Duke. I just awoke from a dream. A terrible red wave was rising up from the ocean, coming to smash Karnaka. I screamed and fell out of bed. It's not common knowledge, but traveling by ship horrifies me. It's unnatural. The ocean is a malignant force. It exists to drive us mad or drag us down deep, where our skin and organs turn to jelly and our bones settle in the muck. For those poor fools who make their trade on the waters, I wish them luck. Serkonis is a land of tall timber, fierce winds, and deep silver mines. Leave the ocean for those with no other choice.
Ramsey painting. Letter to Bonneville. Major Bonneville, thank you again for your help. Without you, it would have been impossible to trace the final members of the Grand Guard who were with Stilton that night 3 years ago. The last man had made it all the way north to Maya, if you can believe it, and was recovering at a Tibian asylum for the poor, claiming to have seen all manner of strange things on the night of Stilton's last social gathering. He even described an exotic hooded figure visiting the manor. Perhaps someone connected to Stilton's disappearance. Such matters are best left to military men such as yourself, I suppose. I still have your bank's bank agent's name and address. Rest assured your final payment will be delivered soon. I'm also sending a small flask of a liquor that is close to my heart, made from the pomace left over after wine grapes have been pressed. Please think of me as you enjoy. Yours truly, Brianna Ashworth. Right, so Ashworth is poisoning anyone who had any knowledge of what happened at Stilton's Manor. Getting rid of all the witnesses, basically.
What is wrong?
Tivian burial urns. Kind of a callback to the first game. Whispers from the Void, volumes 1 and 2. We read those at the beginning of the game. And a shrine.
I'll tell you a story about Kieran Jindosh, a prodigy from Karnaka. Self-taught, he was hailed by the Academy of Natural Philosophy as a genius who would surpass Sokolov and bring about an age of enlightenment. But just 2 years after his arrival, he was banned from the Academy for life, for reasons that are still not public. When they deported him, he left behind a machine that drank seawater, playing music that brought listeners to tears. They promptly took it apart, and it has never worked since.
Seance notes, month of thongs. Lady Connington brought silk scarves from her boutique, one of which Mr. Prospero used to gently strangle her. I maintained a count of her pulse and observed her breathing. When the life signs faded, we left her still for 2 full minutes before reviving her. Was it really the void she described? Have we succeeded in seeing the unseeable? My hand trembles as I recall the intensity in her eyes, as she struggled to recount with broken voice what she felt during those 2 minutes. Month of Earth. I convinced our little group that less gentle methods were needed if our desire to meet the outsider was sincere. Blood fly fever, voluntarily induced. That will be our way to the void. After procuring a few blood flies and some Addermeyer solution, we coated our hands with the elixir before exposing them to the vivarium. The stinging was unbearable. Lady Coddington fainted immediately. I was the last one to remove my hands. The fever was quick to set in. As I faded in and out of consciousness, the ocean waves pounded above me. There were silhouettes in the distance, and shimmering black rocks. A timeless passing in an unthinkable place, while delirium held us for a few hours. I must get back there as soon as possible, when my wounds have healed.
Who's there? Isn't it dinner time yet? Man could starve on this shift.
That tasted awful. Not like my big-jawed hagfish. River crust is more likely. What? A body? Here? He's just been knocked out. So, let's see. What was it? He's been choked out.
What happened here?
Right, already read that. Duke Bell returns triumphant. Our cherished Duke Luca Bell has returned safe to Karnaca after his successful enterprise to unseat the illegitimate Empress Emily Caldwin. Empress Delilah Caldwin, the rightful heir to the throne, has been installed as sovereign over all nations and has already implemented numerous improvements throughout the Empire of the Isles. Upon his return, the Duke announces he plans to host a gala in honor of Empress Delilah at the Grand Palace. Merchants in Karnaca are hereby ordered to add a celebration tax to all sales, so that citizens can enjoy the privilege of contributing to this upcoming event. The resulting monies from the new tax will be collected by the Grand Zirconian Guard until such a time as adequate funds have been amassed. Wanted, Paolo, leader of the Howlers. Citizens of Karnaca, the Howlers are not your friends. Paolo, leader of the Howlers, wanted by the Grand Guard for various crimes and gang-related enterprises. Dangerous and not to be trusted. Reward for information leading to his arrest. All right, voiced by Pedro Pascal, for anyone who doesn't already know.
Hey, times are hard. Help me out if you can. Appreciate it. I'll let you in on a secret. I saw people coming and going recently, looking for whale oil, up to something. I worked in the silver mines here until the dust got to my lungs. Everybody's got the willies now. Feels like the city might collapse. So many people legging it from the city. The Grand Guard and the Howlers won't have anybody to tax or rob.
No lore in this apartment.
Impressive how you managed to get there. Be careful. Those people at the oil tanks might still be around.
They are around, actually. They're down here.
You said whale oil. I got it for you. Not easy to pinch either.
No, you screwed up. It won't work without another tank. Not enough blast. You gotta trust me on this.
All right. I don't know shit about explosives. Never said I did. I'll go out again later and find some more.
Good. Be careful. Bobs like this. It takes a smooth hand.
Can't piss around here forever either. Eventually some wanker will see us and the Howlers will catch wind. But I hear you. One more tank.
And so these burglars are planning to blast through into the black market shop next door and rob it. Letter from Bethy. Sarah, things are rotten here, Dunwall. Nothing's the same since the coup. It ain't safe for no one, and there's no jobs, neither. You get yourself back here and take your kids. It ain't right you should have left them with me for so long. Anyway, you didn't mention how sickly they was and poor behaved. Now, you're my sister, and that counts for something, but when the new month comes, I'm leaving. There's nothing more I can do. There's no more I can do. I ain't their mother, and they won't listen. I can't afford to feed 'em no more. There's nothing left for beers or rent by the time they're done eating. And not a penny from you. I'll have to find your fortune in Karnaca. Some fortune. Well, that's the end of it. Bethy. Guessing this is Sarah. You got 2 canisters of whale oil, which is not enough to blast through, so you need 1 more, and you get that from the carriage station. But before that, we'll visit the black market.
Another of these shops was robbed. I'd hire guards if I could afford it. I don't know you.
I'm new to Karnaca. I need a tool that can rewire a wall of light, the kind the Grand Guard uses, and I'd prefer not to explain myself.
I can help you out, but not right now. Don't even linger here. I'm supposed to get a visit from Paolo, someone you don't want to meet. Come back later.
Understood.
You should go. We can do business another time. Like I said, Paolo is coming by. I think he's here. Hide yourself. That's it. Stay out of sight.
I need 8 new cutters, short blades, the good stuff. Morley steel.
I know what you mean.
Do you? Because last time, you gave me some backwater foundry garbage that wouldn't hold an edge, and snapped against Grand Guard armor.
I got taken on that deal too. But I'll make it up to you, Paolo. Lop off maybe 10%?
30. Because I like you. By next week.
That's fair. I made a bad faith trade and I regret it. You'll have the cutters, I promise.
Good, good. These are strange times. Overseers in the Dust District, a witch empress, and these clockwork soldiers protecting their aristocracy. All bad for business. But if I get my way, Karnaca will be a different city a year from now.
I need protection. The Grand Guard doesn't do its job. Let's see. I have some upgrade plans for your gear. A pleasure to do business. A deal well made. You won't be sorry. Things were so much better just a decade ago. come back soon. I mean, if I'm still here. I'm glad to see you well.
Okay, they're still back here in the alley. So we can go use the heart on Paolo. If we can get close enough without triggering the...
Used to be, if you wanted a bath, you could just go for a swim. Now
He's made the Howlers into something more than just a street gang. He's clever, this one. With aspirations. You'd be surprised how high up he wants to be. The Howlers are his family. He's done terrible things to protect them. He believes he could run Sokolov better than the Duke. He has a secret that will save his life only once each day. He is well known throughout Karnaka as a man who can get things done. Even the new Duke has employed him. There's someone he needs to check on. He wonders if the moonstruck man has enough food and water. Some business with the Duke. An ongoing arrangement. I don't know. It involves one whose mind has been injured. I didn't see it at first, but there's magic at work here. He uses charms made of bone. Uses them well. Paolo. He helped a blind woodcarver cross the street. The same day he assassinated a barrister. He gets another star tattooed across his back every time he claims a life. A constellation of woe. He's thinking these are dangerous times, and how Mindy will take care of the Howlers should anything happen to him. Have I not already told you everything about him?
Who do we have here? I wonder why your face is covered, lady.
That's my business. Who are you supposed to be?
I'm Paolo. In this part of town, everything's my business. And slumming rich kids should remember all that etiquette they learned. Maybe you need another lesson. Is that what you came down here for?
So if you back up pretty quickly, they'll leave you alone.
beat it. This will be your only.
But if you don't, they'll attack you.
What's going on here?
If you kill him, he'll dissolve into a pile of rats, just like in the at the Crone's hand. Okay, let's see. Next thing. Some Howlers back here. Not always
Someone should have come through
easy to
already.
take care of, but we'll see how we do here.
How long we gonna wait for some lost aristocrat to stumble through?
Long as it takes. You want to eat, right?
Maybe this ain't such a good spot for an ambush.
Guards shaking people down. More blood flies this year. People just ain't walking the streets anymore.
Getting hard to make a decent living.
End of Grey River. Yale, you screwed me. Paolo was where you said he'd be, alone. We knifed him 50 times. He was choking blood when I drove a rail spike through the side of his head. Then he was just gone, and there weren't nothing but a bunch of rats. Not sure how he pulled that trick, but you must have known, scumbag. Next day, Paolo came back with 10 howlers. Got us a couple at a time, dragged Brenda and Thomas screaming into the street, and bashed out all their teeth with a hammer. Put that crazy powder in their eyes. Had them seeing terrible things, screaming like carnival clowns, mouths all running red. Then Paolo gave the word, and they shot him with those screaming darts they use. I stayed hid. So I'm finished, asshole. And I bet you were working with the Howlers all along. I swear, if I ever see you again, I'll stick you. Sabine.
I missed the time when I could go to sleep without one.
That went pretty well, I think.
When the Grand Guard go into the place and see it packed solid with blood flies, they burn the building to the ground. And the ones on either side.
They may just smoke flash it. Either way, the jewels will be ruined. We're not getting our money, are we?
Have some faith. It'll just be more complicated than I thought it would be.
The Dukes let the blood flies get out of hand this year. Am I ever gonna catch a break?
Nobody's looking out for nobody right now. We'll go back tonight and dig the jewels out. After that, we'll make a quick exit from Karnaca.
Sounds like a plan.
Huh?
Alright, Spy Master painting from the first game.
And last night.
The Child Empress, excerpt from a historical series. There was a definitive moment when people stopped calling Emily Caldwin the Child Empress. They came after an ambush by the Regenters, an extremist group who wanted to return Dunwall to the authoritarianism of the Lord Regent's time. On the way back to Dunwall Tower, Caldwin's carriage was blocked between two gates, with her attackers firing pistols and even throwing a grenade. When the royal protector was too far off to be of service, the young empress, only 14, found herself all alone in the carriage, save for her friend Alexei Mayhew. Caldwin supporters are lucky that Mayhew was there, as she was brave enough to grab a grenade that had landed at their feet, throwing it back at the assailants and saving the empress. When one of the men dropped down from the forward gate, it was Emily Caldwin who yanked free a short railway brace and beat the man senseless with it. With the city watch closing in, the two girls held their ground against the debris of the carriage until the situation was secure. It is said that Emily Caldwin refused to have the Regenters executed for their crimes, and this is hailed by many as her first adult decision as Empress. Cited for her heroic actions, Alexei Mayhew was commissioned by the City Watch when she turned 18, and was later made captain by Emily Caldwin herself. And this incident is actually illustrated by some very nice fan art that appears in the fanzine Cobbled Bits of Bone, which also includes one of my fan fictions. So check that out if you like. The Southern Winds by Caleb Bentley, natural philosopher, presented at the Academy for the benefit and moral edification of the pupils therein. Excerpt from a speech. Cherished students and learned colleagues, have you not heard the tales of Sarkonos and the beauty of its people? I pose questions today that I hope to answer in great detail. Let's start with the ones commonly asked by travelers for many decades. Does the warmer climate affect the spiritual outlook of a people? Are those born in Tivia, Morley, and Bristol possessed of a more taciturn nature through the geographic and meteorological conditions of their birth, And are these subjects influenced by the obscure currents of warmer water and air that are channeled across the dreadful ocean from the Pandician continent itself? We know so little about that far land. In my travels, I have been impressed with the commonalities shared across all cultures, but also in the differences. It's my goal to illuminate these areas of inquiry, and I will share at least one spicy zirconian recipe with you before the day is done. Caleb Manley, Natural Philosopher. Vampire Monkey. Probably made at the Brosenar taxidermy, where they'll capture you and use you for a bloodfly nest if they can. Conservatory closure extended. A representative from the Royal Conservatory confirmed today that the site's closure has been extended once again, with no promise of when it might reopen. Curator Brianna Ashworth could not be reached for comment. Readers will remember that an infestation of mites in the Roseboro exhibit forced the closure nearly 6 months ago, though there have been rumors that no exterminators have been hired. The Roseboro exhibit was to be a prestigious event sponsored by the Academy of Natural Philosophy, with hopes of attracting numerous experts and guest lecturers from across the Isles. This important exhibition is now on hold indefinitely due to the extended closure. For hopeful visitors, there is nothing to do but wait for further word. And of course, we know the real reason for the closure. To something. Gathering of the Regenters, second day, month of September 1851. All members present. Primary agenda: possible actions for the upcoming anniversary of the death of Empress Jessamine Caldwin. Proposal by Corey Brockburn. Letter to the Karnaca Gazette explaining that while her murder was reprehensible, the end results may have been positive for the Empire. Action: motion approved unanimously. Proposal by Janice Tynes. Members wear Lord Regent's crest armband on the anniversary. Objection by Corey Brockburn. Lovely idea, but it may hurt businesses for members who need to deal with many clients on that day. Clients might find it in poor taste. Action: 4 votes against, 3 votes in favor. Motion rejected. Counter-proposal by Janice Tynes. Armbands could be worn on the 15th anniversary of the Lord Regent's unlawful arrest. Action: motion approved unanimously. Proposal by Teodoro Benitez. Campaign demanding wider deployment of the Wall of Light, brought back into use in Karnaca by Duke Luca Abel. The boldest measures are the safest. Action: vote delayed until word comes from the Grand Guard leadership, collecting facts on reductions in crime across Karnaca. Proposal added to agenda for next gathering. Cocktails and spirits served. Most important part. Note from Corey Brockburn. 25th day, month of September, 1851. Janice, you'll find everything in the safe. I've written the combination in the usual place. You know where to look in the office. I changed all the safe tumblers recently because I feel like I'm being followed. Pretty sure I heard shuffling and heavy breathing from somewhere nearby in the dark while I was closing up the office for the night. It's not the Grand Guard this time, but we're being watched for certain. It's probably safer to postpone our next gathering. Can you warn the others? I'll leave for Calero when I'm done with today's clients. Corey Brockburn. So Brockburn was one of the first victims of the Crown Killer, as one of the opponents of Emily Caldwin. So, and this is his apartment. Strictly cash.
He's made a dog's breath.
Oh, now that's a relief. Don't know what I hate to deserve that.
Anything over here? No. Okay. The Silver Spike on Howlers. Your dear editor is stepping aside this week to give you both sides of an argument raging across the city. Guest editor, the Howler Blight. The letter published last week by the Gazette was an outrage. How could Madame Anta suggest that the Dust District and even Karnaca itself would be better off if we legitimized Paolo and his Howlers in any way? Instead, decent folk should hope to awake one morning and read that Paolo is finally dead or in jail. And why should we be wary of the Abbey? Only a witch need worry about the wrath of the overseers. The Howlers are nothing but a bunch of cutthroats who never worked a day in their life. Everything they have, they stole. If you want their so-called protection, it comes at a price. On the contrary, the overseers have dedicated their lives to spreading the good values of the Seven Strictures. Believe me, the dust in Batista is not in our streets, but in our hearts, and only the Abbey will make us clean again. Sebastian Armitage. That's the kind of the other side of the dueling editorials from that we saw from the last or from the second mission. Right, so locked ticket booth. You can get the key to that booth from the black market. We could go buy it, but it's much more entertaining to steal it. And this is the final tank of whale oil that we need. Uh-oh. To blast through there. Let's see if I can set it down without blowing it up.
This is what I pay protection money for.
And there's the key. Okay. Note to employees. One of the booth keys has been stolen again. This time I'm not having it remade, so you'll have to share the remaining key. Pippa, when your shift is over, just wait for Narciso to arrive, then hand the key over to him. Narciso, you wait for Daniel, and so on. Nobody leave the key in some stupid hidey hole or whatever. If the last key is lost or stolen, we won't be able to open the booth, and you'll all be out of work. If you're worried, pull your coin and have another key made, or go buy the old one back from the black market, as I'm pretty sure that's where it is now. Aventa Station Management.
I can see Jindosh's mansion from here. The carriage line is blocked. I'll have to unlock the gate.
Already read that. Gate codes. I know the discipline has gone to shit over the last few years, and especially this year, but this is a reminder that gate codes should not be written down and left lying around, where just anyone who wanders through the office can see them. These codes are for Grand Guard personnel only, for good reason. Once you've read and memorized the codes, destroy them. Maybe your rank and assignment don't mean squat to you, but if anything happens to Jindosh, we'll all face a firing squad at the Grand Palace. Major Alan Bernoche.
Worst assignment ever. Whatever happens.
I swear I'll find a way to win back the trust of the people.
Best thing that ever happened to this city. Give me a handful of the clockwork and I'll clean up the dust district.
I don't know. Maybe the tall boys were better from the time of the rat plague. They made people stand up straight.
Times change. If the Duke has his way, we'll have an army of the Clockwork soldiers by this time next year.
Split the take. Lieutenant Rakos, by now you've had time to think it over. I'm in a good position where I'm at, and I've got the same deal going with 4 others in the guard spread out over Kanaka. People I trust, watching major entry points. The offer's unchanged. If our very important person from Dunwell comes through, alone or with anyone else, and you're part of the squad taking them down, do whatever it takes to keep it quiet. Whatever it takes. Bring the body to me and we'll all gather up. The 6 of us will take credit for the arrest, and we'll split the Duke's reward. Money and maybe a post at the Grand Palace. Stick with us in this, Lieutenant, and you'll increase your odds, but don't tell a single soul. See how well that worked out.
I wonder if the rumors are true about the Crown Killer. The old Empress, really? What a bunch of degenerates.
The Astounding Clockwork Soldiers, a precise history of by the creator himself, Kirin Jindosh, Grand Serkonian inventor. Chapter 23. Dear readers, you will be fascinated to know that earlier models of my Clockwork Soldier had human-like faces. Allow me to explain. As you know from chapters 18 through 22, I had been testing the Clockwork Soldiers against a wide range of enemies. Early in this process, a problem emerged. The would-be thieves and assailants were not intimidated by the delicate ceramic faces of the earlier prototypes. One criminal even believed he recognized an uncle in attempted conversation. Undeterred, I set about redesigning the head mechanism, encasing it with a terrifying visage. I knew I had found the right design when my first test subjects fell to their knees in fear.
Someone shut off the wall of light!
Get the clankers off Karnaka's streets. Beware a strange sound like the clanking of a factory machine. You might be seconds from an encounter with the latest work of our grand inventor Kirin Jindosh. And what should we think of these new marvels of industry, coveted by the wealthiest members of Karnakan society and standing vigil over their estates? I will tell you, these Clockwork Soldiers are a danger to us all, taking lives with all the morality of a shopkeeper's adding machine. They fight for days without rest, as long as the whale oil tanks hidden in their backs don't run dry. Tyranny awaits unless we act now and re-establish the lawful society established by the former Duke of Serkonos, twice the leader his indolent, irresponsible son has proven to be. Citizens of Karnaka fight to get these clankers off our streets. Pretty similar to the exquisite tallboy pamphlet from the first game. Interrogation report. Captain Calero. Your name is Hieronymus Blas. Suspect. Yes. Captain Calero. And you admit to writing, printing, and distributing the pamphlet called Get the Clankers Off Our Streets. Suspect. Yes. You should read it. How long before the Grand Guard is entirely replaced by mechanical soldiers, indifferent to human suffering, following some aristocrat's orders blindly? Corporal Loya. He kind of has a point, Captain. What if the Duke thinks we're not good enough for the job anymore? I don't want to go back to the mines. Captain Calero. Corporal, this is hardly appropriate. Suspect. Imagine infallible, incorruptible soldiers. Corporal Loya. He's right, Captain. Captain Calero. Interrogation suspended. Send report to Furnace. New gate code. Attention, everyone. The new code for the gate is 352. Once you've read and memorized it, destroy the note. Remember, do not write them down or forget to destroy the notes. Major Alan Benoche.
Working for the Duke's not so bad. Where are you hiding? I'm not in the mood. Show yourself. Should listen to Mom and become a hairdresser. I gotta get back to Dunwall. I feel so bad. Hello? Anybody?
Dr. Hypatia to resign, says Grand Palace. A statement issued from the Grand Palace today, signed by Duke Luca Abel, indicates that Dr. Alexandra Hypatia has resigned from her position as chief alchemist at Addermeyer Institute for issues concerning her health. Additionally, the statement advises that Addermeyer will remain closed for the foreseeable future. The statement did not mention the fate of the various cures Dr. Hypatia has been developing. Readers will know her popular Addermeyer solution, which is said to help miners with their work-related maladies, as well as combating bloodfly fever.
Who's there? I'll be damned! I know you're here somewhere. This time I'll get you! Where did the void just happen? Huh? Beg for mercy! Where did she go? I'll be wiping off your blood later! What? nightly. Damn it, I need to pee.
Me too.
Buy 2 oil cans, get 1 free. What a deal.
Bella is a friend of the Duke's. She and her husband got one of those Clockwork soldiers months before anyone else. They had a party, and we uncrated it.
If I hadn't spent half my life floundering in Potterstead, maybe I'd get invitations like that. It's all about who you come up with.
Couldn't agree more, my dear.
So why'd the Grand Inventor take the clockwork away from them? Couldn't they have asked the Duke to intercede?
Oh, after the incident, they wanted it off their estate.
But it stopped that family of robbers. Surely Bella and her husband were happy about that.
Yes, but after it killed the thieving couple and their brats, it slaughtered Bella's favorite gardener. Poor Bella said the back patio looked like one of the whaling slaughterhouses in Dunwall.
Repulsive.
You have God!
The Duchess in Green by Douglas Harwickle, historian. Much has been written on Theodanis Abel and his sons, but in her own quiet way, the Duchess Calisabel made contributions to Zirconos that will never be forgotten. A collector of artwork, she commissioned the painting Radanis Abel's Incongruence with Time from Anton Sokolov. It was a tribute to her late son Radanis, who died at the hands of a deranged street scoundrel while studying abroad. That street scoundrel was actually Billy Lurk. We'll find out later. The Duchess Abel was also an architect and busied herself with projects as varied as the building of the Orphans of Seafarers Academy and the installation of the marble flooring in the original ducal palace. The marble was a gift to the Abel family from the late Empress Jessamine Caldwin, who had the stone quarried from the cliffs of Redmoor. However, the ducal residence was razed to make room for the new palace constructed under the direction of Luca Abel. Substantially, all of the artworks and treasures from the old residence were lost or destroyed. Callis was a private person and rarely made public appearances. She died in her 57th year after a tragic fall from a balcony. I wonder if it was an accident or something else. A rune back here. Jindosh painting. This one by Sokolov. There's another one in the mansion by Delilah. Alright, I think that's everything here. Alright, 352. Okay, I think that's where I'll leave off for today. Pick up with the actual mansion portion in the next one. And thanks for watching.